when someone gets arrested for a DUI in Marin County, typically they end up either being released to someone who can pick them up, or in most cases, they're taken to jail. And they'll spend some time in jail. And then what happens after that is when they're released, assuming they are local or Northern California residents, they usually won't have to bail out if it's a first DUI, and they will be given a notice to appear in court. That court date is typically about a month out, give or take a week either way. And that date is a date where they are, what the paper says, required to go to court to do what's called an arraignment, which is to enter a plea of not guilty or guilty. And that's where the attorney comes in, because what you want to do is contact the best DUI lawyer that you can find in Marin County and hire that attorney to take care of everything. So what that attorney is doing is going to court for you. You normally wouldn't have to go to court if you have that DUI lawyer. And we would go to what's called an arraignment. I'll just abbreviate that. At that arraignment, we are entering a not guilty plea, setting a new court date, and typically we get what's called the discovery, which is a police report, accident report, results of breath or blood if they have them, and just any document, your record, anything that can help us see what's going on and start our investigation. From there, what we do is we will contact the DA's office at some point, the district attorney's office in Marin County, and request additional discovery. In my practice, what I'm usually requesting is discovery like breath records, blood records, and these things have to do with chain of custody on the blood, accuracy checks, logs, calibration. We're looking for graphs from a chromatogram, which is a machine that's used to test blood. We're looking at the history of these machines to see if they've been taken out of service, if there have been any problems. We're looking at lab records to see that the lab is properly certified. Depending on what we see, we may go deeper and deeper and deeper. While all this is going on, this may be, between the arraignment, and the next court appearance, which is, it's in a lot of counties, they call it a pretrial conference. In Marin County, it's called a COP set date. So that means change of plea or set for another court date or a hearing or a trial. So the second is the COP set. That is usually going to be about a month to 2 months later after the arraignment. So we may go back for 2, sometimes 3, sometimes more, but typically 3 is about as many as we will do, as they will allow for this. And at some point we may have a motion. Now that is for cases where we think they did not have sufficient cause to pull you over, that they did not have a reasonable suspicion that a crime was taking place or was about to take place, and they didn't have probable cause to arrest you for a DUI. And in those cases, we're looking at maybe the speed that they're claiming that you were not speeding, or there was a reason that you were going a little bit over the limit. The weaving that they may be claiming wasn't as bad as they say, and maybe that wasn't an actual vehicle code violation, which could get the case completely dismissed, and we've done that in different cases. It doesn't happen often, but if we've got that situation, we want to run that motion and try and win the case. There are a lot of other issues that can come up at these motions that can have to do with the actual blood testing that was done. Was it done in a medically approved manner? There are a number of different things that we can look at if the cops did not follow proper procedure. So the motion may or may not happen. Sometimes they do. And if we can't win at that point, then there may be another cop set date, or at some point the case may go to a jury trial. Now, less than 2% of cases in Marin DUI cases go to jury trial. Is yours a case that may go? Procedurally in Marin County and any other county, but that call is always up to you, the client. And my job as your attorney is to completely inform you as to what's going on, what the positives and negatives of the case are. We do a whole, cost benefit analysis regarding what the penalties, could be, maximum penalties, what they're likely to be if we don't win the trial, what the benefits are of, winning part of the case or all of the case. And then while all this is going on procedurally, during this time, in between all this stuff, I'm negotiating with the DA. I will meet with them and try and get the best offer that I can if they won't go for dismissing the case. So typically in Marin County, we're talking about offers for a regular DUI, which are, the typical offer is probation and school, a DUI school. Other things are there's a fine, which is about $2,000. And there may or may not be some time on the sheriff's work program, usually a minimum of a day or two, depending on whether they did take you to jail and when they did. But procedurally, that's kind of a skeletal of what's happening with the Marin County DUI arrest. Sometimes people say, well, when do we see the cop again? Does the cop come to court when you're there? Or if I go with you, or what am I facing? People want to know this, and that's why I'm doing a video or videos to help you understand how this procedure works. Cops don't show up for anything unless there's a motion to suppress, and then the DA would subpoena which cop or cops that they want to testify. Typically, it's the cop that does the field sobriety test and that pulled you over. It's usually the same cop. It might be multiple cops. And then when they would definitely, at least one of the cops, if not more, would show up, would be a jury trial. But if we don't have a motion and we don't have a trial, you'll never see these cops again, at least at the courthouse. I won't during the pendency of the case unless we have a motion or a trial. Time-wise, how long does a case take? And so typically, if we're talking about a month or two between each court appearance, and it's usually 30 days between or less between the arraignment and the first cop set date, we would be looking at, it can be more, but sometimes I'll do the arraignment in the clerk's office. I don't even go into the courtroom if they have it ready. Then it will be within 30 days. But if longer, then it's a month or 2 months between each cop set date. So we're talking about typically 3 to 6 or 7 months for most cases. And I would say most resolve, if there is not a motion or a jury trial, within 4 to 6 months. That's pretty typical. I talked about result, what could happen if you got convicted of a DUI. Other things that can happen, they have something called a wet reckless, and that's typically something that may be offered if you have a lower alcohol level, typically at a 1.0 or lower, although we have in certain cases gotten those when they are higher, but there need to be extenuating circumstances. But anyways, if you did get what's called a wet reckless, it's still something that's priorable as a DUI, but it would be, the penalty would be less, the fine would be less. The school, depending on how a DMV hearing came out, might be less. The probation, though, is typically the same in Marin County, which is 3 years. There are a lot of other things that, differences between the two of these. I'm not going to get into a lot of that right now. I do have other videos that you can check and see penalties and things like that. But basically, this is an overview of the procedures for a DUI case in Marin County. And this goes for no matter where in Marin County that you got arrested, whether it's in San Rafael or if you got arrested in Novato, Corte Madera, Mill Valley, Sausalito, coming back from San Francisco or coming south from, Sonoma County or somewhere in the wine country. This is Marin County, and this is the way that things work there. Not overly complicated, but to do a defense of this case properly, to give you the best chance of the best result you can get here, because a DUI is something that affects your record, your life in so many different ways. To get the best chance to get the best result, you've got to get a very, very good, the best DUI lawyer. And you want a DUI lawyer who's based in Marin County and does just DUI defense. And there are very few of us who fall into that category. And I'm happy to do a free consultation for anyone who wants to talk about their case at any point. So that's it.